Hello and welcome to today's edition of Business Basics. My name is Lee Iben. I'm the head coach here at Action Coach Campus. And every day we try to visit with at least one or two businesses in our area. And today I've got Marie Hassel here. Marie is with Child Serve. Marie, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome.
Hey, so Marie, tell us, before we get into Child Serve, what's your role in Child Serve? You're the one that makes it all, you're the glue, right?
Well, I think I'm one of maybe a conglomerate of glue. We have a larger home organization in Johnston, Iowa. So I am the director for Eastern Iowa. So
Excellent.
Coralville area. And then if we were to expand any farther east, then I would be in charge of those expansions and clinics as well.
So, I mean, Child Serve, you guys work with children with special healthcare needs. So what, not a real big demand then, Marie? I'm being facetious, of course. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there is a huge demand. What we try to be is sort of a one-stop shop, if you will, for families. There are lots and lots of appointments and all kinds of different things that families have to deal with when they have children with special healthcare needs. So we really try to have as much services under one roof as we can. So we have PTOT speech, we have a physiatrist, which is the state's only board certified physiatrist. And he is kind of physical medicine and internal medicine. And then we have behavioral health for kiddos and for families. We have the state's only autism day health program. So we have a lot of unique things under one roof.
That's exciting. Now, when you say kiddos, right? My wife is a pediatric dentist, but the gamut on that really is from age 1 all the way up through 20, 22 sometimes. What do you consider your primary clientele? What age?
I would say that age range is probably our primary clientele. Now, we did lobby the state last year to be able to keep kiddos a little bit longer up into their 30s for those kids that are on our long-term care units. So, it's really tough when those kiddos who need constant care get transferred from a pediatric facility that really understands their needs to then going to a nursing home that has geriatric folks. So that can be a huge change. The care that's provided in those facilities is wonderful, but it may not always meet the needs of what those families need and those kiddos need. So that's, go ahead.
I was gonna say, so talk me through that, Marie. So young parents awaiting the birth of their child, they find out that the child's going to have special health care needs while the child is still, in the womb. That's one situation. Another one may be at age 2, the child is diagnosed with autism. So how does a parent that really, they think they have nowhere to turn, how do they find your services? How do you explain what you can do to them? And how do you step them through the next 20 years and beyond?
Sure. Well, it depends on whatever their need is. The other one we see a lot is some kind of injury. So kind of like you were talking with your nephew, we have some kind of traumatic injury happening. We're brain injury specialists as well. So it depends. Most of our referrals come from University of Iowa and local pediatricians. So family will go to pediatrician and say, oh boy, Johnny it just feels a little off, or he's not talking yet, or he's not where he needs to be in school. And so those pediatricians will make a referral over to us, and we can do a developmental assessment. We can do all kinds of assessments on where a kiddo should be. And then we either provide the care that they need, or we will refer them out. If they want to see a different clinic, we're okay with that. We just want to make sure that they get the care that they need. So that's how it comes to us. It could be families often will call and say to us, oh gosh, maybe we're not sure about what's happening. And then we ask them to see their pediatrician, and then they can come to us.
Yeah, so they always come through a referral probably first.
Yeah, it does. We need a physician's referral for many of our services, but some, like behavioral health, we don't. That's not a requirement of the state. So they can come directly for us and start care.
And like you mentioned earlier, you're based in Coralville, other offices in Johnston and Des Moines, but we need more of a presence in Eastern Iowa.
Yeah, we do. We were actually asked for several years. I've been with the organization about 3 years, but I know that Child Serve was asked repeatedly to start to get more services on this side of the state because we are so unique in what we do. that, yeah, it's definitely a needed service. And I do think we are the best kept secret until you absolutely need to have our services. So one of the business goals for us is to really get our name out there in the community, because we've only been in this community for 3 years or
Really?
2.5 years.
Yeah.
So that, we wanted to get involved in the community. We wanted to give back. We didn't want to just come in and say, use our services.
Right.
We wanted to make sure that that we were also giving back and helping with the community as well. So.
Yeah, and since I know that when we had our pediatric dental practice, we sold that back in 2018. But when we had that, similarly, when we first started back in 1999, we did minimal advertising from a marketing standpoint, but more relationship building, because we, like you, 90% or more of our patients came through referrals because we specialized in pediatrics. We worked with a lot of general dentists and orthodontists who it was maybe beyond their scope of care if a child was really apprehensive about visiting the dentist. And so likewise, you're building your business through those referrals and like you said, through your community involvement.
Yeah.
How do you go about discovering if another community needs your service?
Yeah, that
I mean, we know they do, right? Of course we know they do, but from a business model, right? We gotta put something on paper, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we are always evaluating different communities. So for example, we've looked at Cedar Rapids, and we look at the number of folks who are in that area, kids that would potentially need us. We do have some statistics in each community, which would talk about possibly the number of kids that would have special healthcare needs. So then we can look at what are the services that are provided there and if we would be needed. Also, that comes from our relationships with the hospitals as well. So great relationships with University of Iowa, Blank, Mercy, Unity Point. So we're constantly meeting with them probably 3 times a year just to say, how are things going? What are the needs of your providers? We asked local physicians what's missing for the services that we provide, and is there anything else that we can do?
Love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a misnomer, I think, with the general population to think nonprofit, oh, they don't make any money. Well, it still takes money to make things happen.
Oh, sure.
I mean, everybody on staff still gets a paycheck, right?
Right.
It's just a different tax model, basically.
Yeah.
But we have to have the support, the financial support to make our services available. And
about 70% of the kiddos that we see here in Coralville, the mix is a little bit different in Johnston and Ames, but about 70% of them are on Medicaid. So we are kind of, we can be for some a provider of sort of last resort. Most of the time, those kiddos that have Medicaid may not be able to go to another provider. They might only take private insurance, or they might be private pay only. So we really do serve that underserved population, whether they're underinsured or they don't have any insurance at all. So
yeah, we had a good portion of our base as well on Medicaid, and that can be an interesting animal to say the least.
It is.
Now, how else do you bring extra revenue in if you're not surviving solely? I mean, 70% is a big chunk on Medicaid.
It's a big chunk.
It's a big chunk. Yeah. And they don't usually cover your overhead either. I mean, just being honest. And so you have to look to other avenues. What are those avenues you guys seek out?
Absolutely. We do have a large fundraising department in Johnston. So they are constantly fundraising. We have a big event that benefits all of the clinics called Bubble Ball that is kind of our signature event. We do all kinds of different fundraising. We also write grants as well. So while we don't necessarily write for huge federal grants, we can write for grants for different programs to either bring in pieces of equipment that we need, or to subsidize folks who don't have any insurance at all. Some programs, like we have a really neat program called hippotherapy. And no, it's not on hippos. It's with horses. but our kiddos, even our speech kiddos, can benefit from being on a horse and just feeling that movement, how their body moves. The kids absolutely love it, and there just isn't any reimbursement for that. So that's something that we fundraise every year for.
Right.
So
Cycle back to this bubble ball thing. Are we talking about putting people in those big bubbles and rolling them down the hill? I mean, what is that?
absolutely. No, it's kind of funny. It's with bubble wrap, and so we supply the bubble wrap, and then there are designers, clothing designers, artists who come and they put together a whole show around a theme. So one year it was superheroes, and so they do kind of a whole runway show, and they use the bubble wrap to make the costumes, to do all kinds of stuff. But our kids participate in it too, and our CEOs have participated in it as well. So it's a really fun, awesome event. So much different than any of the other events I've been to, where it's, you know, a dinner and then you have some items that you bid on. So it's really cool.
That is cool. I imagine you post that on your Facebook page, right?
Absolutely.
Instagram as well. Are you there? Do you have a presence on Instagram?
We're on Instagram as well. All of the medias, and it's actually held in Johnston, but we have folks that will buy tickets from here as well and drive up for the evening.
Well, for now, right, Marie?
For now.
I mean, as it grows, we'll have a presence, a bigger presence in Eastern Iowa, and then we'll have our own bubble wrap show. That's right. Bubble ball. That's right.
Bubble ball.
Bubble ball is in dancing, not actually get into a ball and roll down a hill. So,
I mean, we can do that if people are interested.
Oh, sign me up. I would do that in a heartbeat. Well, very good. All right. So let's talk real quick. I want you to share with us. You've been doing this now for 3 years. What's been the biggest learning as the director of a nonprofit? What's the biggest business takeaway that you could share?
Oh boy, I've had quite a few. The way that this business runs is different than my previous history, which has been in pediatrics and primary care.
Okay.
So these families really have challenges with all the different appointments that they have. So we schedule ongoing appointments, which is much different than, say, like your wife's practice or pediatrics, where you just call and make an appointment when you need them, and it's not necessarily ongoing. So that's a whole different business model for me. Making that work, trying to keep a cap on no-shows, cancellations, those types of things, and then also keeping our therapists busy. So that has been a huge learning curve for me. But I think I'm getting the hang of it now.
3 years. I got this, man.
Yeah. And then I think, Child Serve's, I've always worked in nonprofit, long time, 20 years in healthcare. And they're one of the best run nonprofits I have been involved with, financially, process. So they really use the money well, and we have nice facilities. We can pay the prevailing wage, those types of things. So that has also made the job just a little bit easier, and I can focus on how do we grow and how do we bring these services.
That's excellent. Yeah, that, and you brought up a point too. When you're working with a large Medicaid population base, the old adage would be that you would double or triple book if you were a dentist or a doctor, because the no-show rate tends to be higher, and nothing against that population, but what people fail to remember is that if someone's on Medicaid, it may also mean they don't have a car, or they don't have transportation to the appointment, or for whatever reason. So that's the no-show rate. We can validate that, but it is what it is. And so, we try, and that was a tussle that we had too. It's like, all right, so do we double book that appointment? Because we need to stay busy. Oftentimes we did not. With, as working in pediatrics, kiddos tend to run a little longer sometimes, and they're given appointment time because they don't always want to cooperate when you want them to.
Right.
So it's interesting for a bit. It is, and that's the interesting thing from a business standpoint. You and I both have our business brains on, and it's like, all right, so we need to keep our appointments pretty much on track because we have X number of people that we need to see today to serve that bottom line. That's our time is our inventory. But at the same time, we're dealing in a space where we're working really directly with people's emotions and children's compromised abilities. So there has to be a give and a take. And I understand why it takes a while for business people to wrap their head around, look, we're not selling clothes here like at a retail
Right.
store. It's a completely
Right.
different mindset, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I think the other thing is just understanding how we also have an advocate that advocates for us on the state level. So just how Medicaid is administered in the state and what that can look like, and all of the
Hmm.
different rules that are put into place. You really need to have somebody looking at that all the time, because they can just make a change to how you get paid, and that can significantly impact your business moving forward. So that's another area that I think Child Serve is amazing at, is just keeping abreast of all of those things and being able to pivot and make adjustments to keep the business alive moving forward. So I've been impressed with that as well.
So much so. Okay, Marie, one other parting thought you want to share with anybody?
I really, as far as business goes, I think with COVID, just to keep plugging along, because things will change.
Hmm.
And I also think that, gosh, this is a tough one. I feel like I have all these cliches in my head that everybody's heard of many times.
Donate
But I don't
today,
want to do
donate
that.
often.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're looking for a new place, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, really. I mean, even if you don't need our services, it's great to understand what we do, because I think we do so much in the community. So we'd love people to come for a visit and just understand what we do. We're not taking visitors right now, but when COVID is over, it's really interesting to see our facilities and kind of what we do.
And in Coralville, where's your facility located?
We are located on Oakdale, right across the street from Kirkwood Community College. It's 2350.
Yeah, perfect. I know that's my
Yeah.
old neighborhood, as a matter of fact. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
excellent. Over on Glen Oaks. That's right. Lovely area. So
Yes.
great access off the interstate, easy to get to. So perfect. Well, thank you very much for being here. Don't go away. I'll just wrap this up real quick. Thank you all for joining us today on Business Basics. Our special guest today was Marie. She is the director of Child Serve here in Coralville, but they also have locations in Central Iowa as well. So thank you, Marie.
You're welcome.